सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं प्रणौमि दक्षिणामूर्तिव्यासशङ्कररूपिणं ज्योतिर्मयं गुरुं चन्द्रशेखरेन्द्र सरस्वतीम्. So yesterday we were explaining the definition of smriti. So we were explaining that there are two types of knowledge. One is smriti or recollection, the other is experience, anubhava. So today we have to know about the definition of anubhava. There is not much about anubhava, that is anubhutistu tad binna jnanam. So there are two types of knowledge. One has already been defined, so the other, maybe he feels there is no need to explain it, so he says tad binna jnanam, whatever is different from smriti or recollection, that is anubhava. So if there are 3 or 4 types, maybe he has to give each one a definition. Because there are only 2 types of cognition or knowledge, anubhutistu tad binna jnanam. Tad binna jnanam means smriti binna jnanam. Whichever is different from smriti or recollection has to be anubhava or experience. And then how is that anubhava or experience? Sacha dvida sthita. It is of 2 types. It has been classified into 2 types. Yathartha cha ayatartha iti. Tatra adhyatu pramakila. So anubhava has been classified as yathartha anubhava and ayathartha anubhava. So anubhava is classified as yathartha and ayathartha. Now what is yathartha anubhava? Yathartha anubhava alone is called prama or valid knowledge. Very freely explained, yathartha anubhava is something of an object, the knowledge of an object which is experienced as it is. And ayathartha anubhava, when you have the cognition or knowledge of an object in a substratum wherein it does not really exist, then that is ayathartha anubhava. For example, you perceive rope to be a snake, silver to be shell to be silver. Such kinds of cognitions are termed ayathartha anubhava, which in Sanskrit you also call as brahma, brahmajnana or aprama. All these are synonyms. Ayathartha anubhava, brahma, aprama, so or mithya jnana even. All these convey the same meaning. So yathartha anubhava is prama. So that is what he says. Sacha dvida sthita yathartha cha ayathartha iti tatra adhyatu prama kila. So the first one is also known as prama. Now we will go to the next sloka. Nanu kim nama yathartatvam. Now what constitutes yathartatva or pramatva? What constitutes validity in respect of knowledge? When do you characterize, when do you call a knowledge as yathartha or prama? How do you know? How do you come to the conclusion that a particular knowledge is valid? Kim nama yathartatvam. Tat prakarakatvam it brahma pramayam avyaptihi. Suppose you want to say, if you want to give the definition, tat prakarakatvam means something, when you want to speak about yathartha jnana or valid knowledge, and you speak of tat prakarakatvam means something serves as an adjectival feature means, then brahma pramayam avyaptihi. Brahma pramayam avyaptihi means, avyapti we have earlier explained yesterday, partial inapplicability. So prakarakatvam iti chet Brahma pramayam avyaptihi. When you have the knowledge of Brahman arising from the great sayings of the Upanishads, then that has to be Brahma Prama, Pramatmaka Jnana, or valid knowledge. But if you add the element of Prakarakatva in it, then such a definition will not fit in Brahma Prama, because knowledge of Brahman is supposed to be Nishprakaraka Jnana. Nishprakaraka means, let us quickly understand what is meant by knowledge. For example, there arises the cognition, this is spot. Normally, any knowledge, when you have the knowledge of any object, there are two features it must refer to. One is the substantive element, which in Sanskrit you call as Visheshya. The second one is adjectival element, which in Sanskrit you call as Prakara. Now, in order that when you comprehend an object and you give corresponding expression to it, how are you able to express in terms of words the cognition which you have had? You are seeing the pot and you are able to express this is pot. Now, the very fact that you are able to express it as this is pot shows that one of them, that is the pot, the two factors have been cognized, two factors have been comprehended in that cognition, one substantive element and another adjective element. Irrespective of the nature of the cognition, whether it is Pramatmaka Jnana or Brahma Jnana, these two factors are very much essential in order to be called a cognition. So, when you are able to express this is pot, that means potness or gatatva, which is present in pot, has been comprehended as the prakara or the adjectival element. And where is that adjectival element? Normally, that adjectival element will be related to the substantive element or the Visheshya. So, when you express this is pot, this means that you have cognized pot as the Visheshya and potness as the Prakara. Unless you have cognized these two features, there is no possibility of expressing it as this is pot. This is what the Nyaya school has taught us. Any determinate cognition, Savikalpaka Jnana, has to be characterized by these two, Savikalpaka Jnana, because Brahma Jnana also is Savikalpaka, because you are able to say something about it. But Nirvikalpaka Jnana, in Nirvikalpaka Jnana, you are comprehending all these objects, but not in their aspect of Visheshya or Prakara. That is why a child or a person who does not know what that object is not able to express. Somebody asks the question, what is it? I don't know, there is something there, but I am not able to say what it is. So that is a kind of knowledge, Nirvikalpaka Jnana or Nishprakaraka Jnana. So the general understanding is something which manifests as the Prakara or adjectival feature in a cognition has to be Savikalpaka Jnana or determinate cognition. So now, with the Nyaya background, this commentator says, Tat Prakarakatvam, if you want to characterize or if you want to define Yathartha Jnana as Tat Prakarakatvam, if you want to say, if you want to define Yathartha Jnana as something which is possessed of some adjectival feature, then unfortunately it will not be applicable in the case of Brahma Prama, because according to the Advaitins, this Brahma Jnana, knowledge of Brahman, is a Nishprakaraka Jnana. It cannot, you cannot have Brahmatva as Prakara or Brahman as Visheshya. Such things cannot happen because knowledge of Brahman does not carry any Prakara. Now at this juncture you may have to understand there is a lot of difference between the Nayayikas Nishprakaraka Nirvikalpaka Jnana and Advaitins Nirvikalpaka Jnana, about which we will deal with later on. For the present, you understand that there cannot be any prakara in Brahma Prama. So in Brahma Pramayam Avyaptihi, Brahma Prama is a Pramatmaka Jnana, valid knowledge, but then it does not satisfy the definition of Yathartha, because if you define Yathartha Jnana as Tat Prakarakatvam, then there is no prakara adjectival element at all in Brahma Prama. So there is avyapti or partially inapplicable. In the sense, in all other empirical cognitions you can explain this feature, but not in Brahma Prama. So at least there is one cognition, one Prama or one valid knowledge where the definition is inapplicable. So there is partial inapplicability or avyapti. So tasyaha, why? He himself gives the reason. Tasyaha means pramayaha. Tadrisha pramayaha, such a prama, Brahma Prama, is nishprakarakatvat. It does not possess any adjectival feature. So nishprakarakatvat iti ata aha. See, wherever you have this statement, iti ata aha means, this is one style of commentary. Ityata aha means, iti shankayam, when such a doubt is raised, ataha tan nirakaranaya, in order to dispel that doubt, aha means vakti, the commentator or the Granthakarta or the author gives an answer in the following verse. Is it clear? Kim nama yathartatvam tat prakarakatvam iti chet. If we were to say that tat prakarakatva is the definition of yathartatva, yathartha jnana or prama, then Brahma Pramayam, such a definition would be partially inapplicable or avyapta in Brahma Prama. Why? What is the difficulty? Tasyaha, such a Prama, a valid knowledge, nishprakarakatvat iti, when such a doubt arises, ityata aha, iti shankayam, ataha tan nirakaranaya, aha vakti. What is the answer given? Abhaditartaka jnanam, yatharthanubhavo mataha. So we don't define in terms of Yathartha Jnana in terms of Tat Prakarakatva. So how do we define Prama? Abhaditartaka Jnanam Yatharthanubhavo mataha. So what is the definition? Abhaditartaka Jnanam. So let us go from the back. It is a kind of knowledge, and knowledge must always refer to a content, because nirvishayaka jnanasya, a contentless cognition is a contradiction in terms. Whenever you speak of knowledge, it must always refer to a content. Suppose somebody says, I have knowledge of what? Immediately you will put the question of what? Knowledge of what? So knowledge must always refer to a content. That is a general rule. So arthaka jnanam. Artha means an object. So knowledge has some object as its content. Is it clear? So when you say I have the knowledge, immediately the question is what? Knowledge of what? I have the knowledge of book, I have the knowledge of car, I have the knowledge of pencil. So your answer would be referring to a content, referring to a vishaya. So arthaka jnanam. So there is knowledge of some object. Now that knowledge of all objects cannot be treated as prama or valid. Which knowledge will be treated as valid? So we prefix or we give an adjective to the artha or the object. How should that artha be? It is abhadita artha. An artha or object which is abhadita or unsublated at a later date. Such a knowledge alone can be treated prama. Take the case of shell silver. You perceive shell as silver at 10:30, and on subsequent analysis, or somebody instructs you that it is only a piece of shell and not silver, at 10:35 you realize that it is a piece of shell and not silver. Now, from 10:30 to 10:35, that cognition continued to be Prama, because there was no Bada or sublation for it. So long there is no Bada or sublation, that knowledge would continue to be valid. But once there arises Bada or sublation, when you are perceiving an elephant as elephant, it is going to be elephant forever. There is no sublation for the knowledge of elephant there at all. On the other hand, when you mistake an object for something else, at some point or the other, there may arise the sublating cognition that this is not such and such a thing, this is only a piece of shell and not silver. So, till there arises the sublating cognition, your knowledge or your cognition would continue to be valid. But once there arises the sublating cognition of the form, Nedam Rajatam, Iyam Shuktireva, this is not silver, this is only a piece of shell. If you have such a knowledge, then that Vishaya or that Artha has been sublated. So it is a Badita Artha. If it is a Badita Artha, if your knowledge refers to a Badita Artha, then you can no more treat it to be a valid cognition. So on the strength of this sublation, you consider that knowledge to be erroneous cognition. Now, how will you treat, on the other hand, how will you consider valid knowledge? So long there is no Bhada, that when you are, if you are perceiving real silver as silver, forever you will be perceiving that silver as silver alone. There is not going to be Bhada or sublation at any point of time. At any point of time, within inverted commas I am saying, because so long there does not arise the knowledge of Brahman in the Vyavahara Dasha, during the state of phenomenal existence, it is going to continue to be silver alone. But once there arises from the absolute standpoint, if somebody realizes the true nature of Brahman, then from his standpoint, even this silver will be treated as unreal. So from his standpoint, there is Bada. So there is no question of Prama there. So we are speaking only in the empirical level. This definition has been framed only in the empirical level we are speaking. So that is why Abhadita Artaka Jnanam, knowledge which has for its content, which does not get sublated at a later date, such a cognition is called Yatartha. So that is what he says, Abhaditartaka Jnanam, knowledge which has for its content Nabhaditartha, that is called Yatarthanubhavo Mataha. And then such a Yatarthanubhava we have called it as Prama, isn't it? So Pramayaha Karanam Yat Tat Pramanam iti Giyate. So the general definition of Pramana is Pramayaha Karanam, that which serves as the cause of Prama, instrumental cause of Prama, that is Pramana. This is a general definition of Pramana. Prama Karanam Pramanam. Now what are the types of Prama? We have 5 or 6 types of Prama. That is Pratyaksha Prama, Anumiti Prama, Upamiti Prama, Shabda Prama, Arthavatti Prama and Anupalabdhi Prama. So with regard to each of these Pramas, the Pramana will also vary. But for the present, we are giving the general definition of Pramana, that is Pramayaha Karanam. Whatever is a Prama, it must arise from a Pramana or instrumental. So Pramayaha Karanam Yat Tat Pramanam iti Giyate. So this is, so far as the text, the verse is concerned, Abhaditartaka Jnanam Yatarthanubhavo Mataha Pramayaha Karanam Yat Tat Pramanam iti Giyate. But there is a handful of technical terms which you have to know from the commentary, but it is very highly essential that you know all these things in order to understand Vedantic text. So I prefer going line by line this sloka at least, because there is so much to learn from this commentary. Now I will read Abhaditeti. What is this Abhaditeti? Abhaditeti is called Pratika. So yesterday I told it is Pratika. He has taken up that Pratika from that verse and he is going to explain whatever is relevant or whatever is needed, necessary to understand this particular verse. Atra Jnana Padam Anubhava Param abhaditarthaka jnanam it is given. So the commentator doesn't want to have or leave you in any kind of ambiguity. So he says the word jnana in the verse abhaditarthaka jnanam, it specifically stands for anubhava, because jnana can also mean smriti, isn't it? Jnana has been classified into two types as smriti and anubhava, but here we are discussing about yathartha anubhava. So please understand the word jnana to mean anubhava. So he says atra jnana padam anubhava param tatacha abhaditartha vishayatve sati anubhavatvam pramayaha lakshanam iti jneyam. So you have to understand the definition of prama in this way. What does the verse say? Abhaditarthaka jnanam. So we have just extended it a little more. Abhaditarthaka jnanam. Jnanam has been specified or focused in a focused manner. We have used the term jnana to mean anubhava. So he gives the definition abhaditartha vishayatve sati. That knowledge is called prama, which has for its content an object which is unsublated. Abhaditartha vishayatva is there in that knowledge, and not only that, it is a kind of experience. Sati anubhavatvam pramayaha lakshanam. So there are two features in prama or yathartha anubhava. What are they? One is it has abhaditartha vishayatva and it also has anubhavatva. So abhaditartha vishayatve sati anubhavatvam pramayaha lakshanam iti jneyam. Now why he has used the word jnana, or why he has used the word anubhava in the place of jnana? For that he gives the explanation. Smriti vyavrityartham anubhava padam. He could have left the word jnana itself. Why should he be specific in using the word anubhava there? So if the word anubhava is not specified in the definition, then jnana, the word jnana may also mean smriti. So in order to exclude from the purview of the definitions, in order to exclude smriti or recollection from the purview of the definition, it has been specifically stated that the word jnana means anubhava. Smriti vyavrityartham anubhava. Vyavrityartham means in order to exclude from the purview of the definition smriti, we have used the term anubhava to mean jnana. Then you see, now we have two segments, just as we explained yesterday. Abhaditartha see, that is why yesterday he has prepared us, the commentator has prepared us. He is going to explain ativyapti, avyapti. Quite often he is going to use. That is why he has made a prelude about ativyapti, avyapti. Now you see, abhaditartha vishayatva and jnanatva. There are two segments. There are two components in this definition. One is abhaditartha vishayatva, A, and this is B. So abhaditartha vishayatve sati jnanatvam. This is the definition of prama. Now what is the need for both the components? He says brahma in the definition abhaditartha jnanatva. Why the word jnana stands for anubhava? It is to exclude from the purview of the definition smriti that the word jnana is meant anubhava. And then he says brahma vyavrityartham visheshana dalam. So is it not enough to say jnanam pramayaha lakshanam or anubhavatvam pramayaha lakshanam? Prama is anubhava, yathartha anubhava. So anubhavatvam pramayaha lakshanam. Is it not enough to say anubhavatvam pramayaha lakshanam? No. He says brahma vyavrityartham visheshana dalam. Now if you say anubhavatvam yathartha anubhavasya lakshanam, then such a kind of anubhavatva is present in Brahma also. In Brahma also you experience something. Shell silver also is an experience, isn't it? Shell silver, rope serpent, all these are also anubhava. So, if you say jnanatvam pramayaha lakshanam, such a kind of jnanatva is present even in shell silver, the knowledge of shell silver and rope serpent. So, in order to ward off the over applicability of the definition ativyapti in the case of shell silver and rope serpent, you have included the phrase abhaditartha vishayatva. Now, if this is included, how would you ward off? In the case of shell silver or rope serpent, they are not abhaditartha. At a later date, they are going to be sublated. Shell silver is sublated as nedam rajatam. This is not silver, this is only shell. Iyam shuktireva. Nayam sarpaha. This is not sarpa. Iyam rajjureva. So we have, in such cases, we have the cognition, sublating cognition of the form, that is, this is not silver, this is not a rope, this is not a serpent. So, in these two cases at least, they have for their content a badita artha. So, they are badita artha vishayatva is present there and not abadita artha vishayatva. So, if this phrase is included, then the definition will not be over applicable in the case of Brahma. With this in mind, the commentator says, Brahma vyavrityartham visheshana dalam. What is the need for visheshana dala adjectival element here? It is to ward off ativyapti in the case of Brahma or ayatartha, that is the shell silver drishtanta. So, Brahma vyavrityartham. Brahma vyavrityartham means in order to ward off ativyapti in the case of Brahma. See, commentator doesn't want to, because he has already explained you, he knows that all of you are very intelligent and he knows that it is Brahma vyavrityartham means you will understand Brahmastale ativyapti vyavrityartham. In order to ward off ativyapti, so visheshana dala, the visheshana is, so we have to understand Brahma vyavrityartham means in order to ward off Brahma we cannot translate. Brahme ativyapti nivrityartham. That is the meaning there. So Brahma vyavrityartham. And in the same way, smriti vyavrityartham means smritau ativyapti vyavrityartham. Ativyapti nivaranartham. What is given? The visheshana dala is given. So then the word jnana is meant as anubhava. So smriti vyavrityartham anubhava padam, Brahma vyavrityartham visheshana dalam. So now the definition is intact. Abhaditartha vishayatve sati jnanatvam pramayaha lakshanam or yatartha anubhavatvam. Now he gives one more example. There is a cognition sthanurva purushova. This is an example of doubt or samshaya. Now let us try to understand the difference between doubt and erroneous cognition. In the case of erroneous cognition, you mistake X for Y. So there is totally X has been concealed and it is totally mistaken for something else called Y. So the true nature of the object is not at all known, it is known as something else. So in the case of erroneous cognition, no part of it is manifested as true. That means shell element is totally concealed and it is manifested in its general nature as this, and silver element is manifested there. So that is a clear case of mithya jnana or error. But what happens in the case of doubt or samshaya? In samshaya also, there is only one object, but unfortunately your mind is wavering or oscillating between two alternatives. You are mistaking that object not for something else altogether, but you have two, your mind oscillates between two alternatives, whether it is either there is a sthanu there is a lamp post, or there is a man standing there. Now, how do you find? You have the cognition whether it is a lamp post or a person standing there. Now, the fact remains to be this, that there is either the lamp post there or the person there. But what happens is, you have entertained a doubt wherein you are postulating two mutually contradicting alternatives in one and the same object. So, Viruddha Dharma, in one and the same substratum or in one and the same object, you are superimposing, or you are trying to identify, or you are trying to perceive two mutually contradicting features, that is sthanutva or sthanutva. If I say in Sanskrit alone, you can understand. Sthanutva means in lamp post, there is sthanu means the lamp post. What is there in sthanu? Sthanu is sthanutva. There is one feature, dharma. In Purusha, there is Purushatva. So, either there is a sthanutva there or Purushatva. If it is a Purusha, Purushatva will be there. If it is a sthanu, sthanutva will be there. But your mind oscillates between these two contradicting features. If sthanutva is there, Purushatva cannot exist. If Purushatva is there, sthanutva cannot exist. That is why they are mutually opposing characteristics. Such two characteristics, or both of them, are posed. You are postulating both of them in that sthanu. So, either it is a sthanu or Purusha. When you say sthanutva, or whether it is a sthanu or Purusha, this is a clear case of doubt. So, in all cases of doubt, what happens is conjecture. What happens is two mutually opposing features are manifesting in one and the same substratum. Ekasmin dharmini, in one and the same dharmi, Viruddha Nana Dharma, two mutually opposing features are manifested, then such a cognition is called doubt or samshaya. Now he says, sthanau, sthanurva, purushova, iti samshaye. When there arises a samshaya or doubt in sthanu, and what is the form of doubt? Sthanurva, purushova. If you have the cognition on seeing sthanu, if you have the cognition that this is Purusha alone, then that is a clear case of Mithya Jnana. And even if you have on seeing the Purusha, if you have the cognition it is sthanu only, then also it is Mithya Jnana. But what happens? Either it is whether it is a sthanu or Purusha, if two characteristics are superimposed on one and the same object, then it is a clear case of doubt. So sthanau, sthanurva, purushova iti samshaye. What happens? Sthanutvamshe bada bhavat pramatvam, purushatvamshe brahmatvam iti mantavyam. Now he says, what happens in the case of doubt? As I said earlier, either there should be a sthanu or Purusha, which you are going to mistake. Now, after further analysis, if you come to the conclusion, em sthanu, if you have the cognition that this is only a sthanu, lamp post, then in that element, sthanutvamshe bada bhavat, there is no bada, there is no sublation, this is not a sthanu, you are not going. But on the other hand, you have come to the conclusion this is only a sthanu, so there is no bada. So sthanutvamshe bada bhavat, since there is no sublation, bada bhavat pramatvam. In that, as far as that aspect is concerned, it is considered to be yathartha. Whereas, either there can be sthanu or Purusha. So there is no Purusha there because we have concluded it to be sthanu. So Purushatvamshe, as far as the Purushatva amsha is concerned, it has been sublated, because once you come to the conclusion that it is possessed of only sthanutva or it is only a sthanu, then there is no question of Purusha manifesting there. So Purushatvamshe brahmatvam iti mantavyam. You have to understand that only in the element of sthanu there is no bhada. So it is a pramatmaka jnana. Even in the case of doubts, he want to explain how pramatva could be established, because wherever there is no sublation, then you have the knowledge of that particular object. So in as much as there is no sublation in that aspect, that is considered to be prama, and the place or the amsha or the part where there is sublation, it has to be treated as Brahma. So Purushatvamshe Brahmatvam iti mantavyam. Pramana lakshanamaha. So he gives the general definition of pramana. Pramayaha iti. Pramayaha karanam pramayat tat pramanam iti giyate. So he says pramanirupita karanatvam pramanam ityartha. So prama. And what is the karana? Instrument of prama is pramana. So prama, if prama is x, pramana is y. So what could be thought of as the karana of x? If x is the effect, then y is the cause. So there is a kind of binding or bondage between x and y. Swarga kamo yajeta. One who is desirous of heaven should perform yaga. Darshapurnamasabhyam swarga kamo yajet. That is the statement. So one who is desirous of obtaining heaven should perform Darshapurnamasa yaga. This is the Vedic statement. Now, yaga is performed. The question is, the Vedic statement says that if I want to obtain heaven, I should perform Darshapurnamasa yaga. But I perform the yaga now. Where is the guarantee that I will get heaven in a hereafter? Who will give me the guarantee? Just as we have the guarantee, 7 years warranty to 5 years warranty, there is no guarantee. Somebody should give me, come and give me. But there is no guarantee. Who will give me the guarantee? So the Mimamsakas have thought of these warranty and guarantee cards then itself. So they say, if you perform yaga, the ultimate result of yaga, performance of yaga is only Swarga or heaven. But what happens is, what is meant by yaga? Yaga means Devata Uddeshena Dravyatyagaha Yagaha. You are idam namama. You are just offering an oblation in fire. This is Indraya idam namama. Then the yaga is over. So yaga is only kshanika. It is only momentary. Because when you perform yaga, what do you do? Indraya idam namama. Then that yaga is over. It is complete. So it's only momentary. This kshanika yaga, how can it produce a result in the form of heaven in a hereafter? This is the question. So for that, the Mimamsakas themselves give an answer. Madhyavarti apurvam kalpyate. We admit that by the performance of yaga, what happens is there arises an unseen merit by the performance of yaga, which is called apurva. And now this apurva is the enduring principle, or it serves as a link to provide or to give rise to Swarga at a later date. So this apurva, which arises from yaga, by the performance of yaga, and which is also responsible at a later date for the rise of Swarga, for giving rise to Swarga, this is technically called as Vyapara. Now, why is it called Vyapara? There again you have a definition. Vyapara means Tat Janyatve Sati. That is, let us call this as A, B and C. Now, the direct result of A is only C. But it is not able to give rise to that C directly. So it requires an intermediate cause, Dwara Karana. So through B, this A gives rise to C. Now this B is called Vyapara in the sense that it arises from A and In turn, it is responsible for the rise of C also. C, which is the direct result of A. So this is precisely the definition of Vyapara. That is, Tatjanya. Tatjanya means Apurva is Yagajanya. Apurva arises from the performance of Yaga. And what is the direct result of Yaga is only Swarga or C. Now, Apurva is Yagajanyatve sati, Yagajanya Swargam prati Janakam. This also becomes a cause for Yagajanya Swarga Janakam. So, the definition of Vyapara is Tatjanyatve sati. Tatjanya Janakatvam Vyaparaha. Now, because this Apurva satisfies this definition, it is Apurva is B, and B arises from A, and B also gives rise to C, which is the direct result of A. So this B is termed Vyapara. Tatjanyatve sati means Yagajanyatve sati, Yagajanya Swargam prati Janakatvat, Apurva is called Vyapara. Now the story does not end there. Vyapara is not, now we require something more than this. Now if Apurva is Vyapara, Vyapara for what? For Yaga. So this Yaga is Vyaparavat. Strictly speaking, Yaga is the Karana or the instrument which gives rise to Swarga. Now how does it become a Karana? It is possessed of a Vyapara in the form of Apurva. So it is Asadharana Karana. It is a unique cause to give rise to Swarga. And not only that, it is possessed of the Vyapara called Apurva also. So it is Vyaparavat Asadharanam Karanam. So Swargam prati Yagaha Karanam. Why? It is Vyaparavat Asadharana Karanatvat. That is what he says. Karanatvam cha Vyaparavat Asadharana Karanatvam. So wherever you come across this word Karana, excepting the Vaiyakaranas, because for the Vaiyakaranas it is Sadhakatamam Karanam. So for all the other philosophers, you can make use of this Karana definition, Vyaparavat Asadharana Karanatvam Karanatvam. Now he gives the technicalities with reference to the definition of Karana. Gatam prati Kapala Samyoga Varanaya Vyaparavadati, Ishvara Jnana Varanaya Asadharanati. I skip those two elements alone, because that will confuse if you go like this, you will understand. So, Vyapara Dasadharanam Karanam Karanam, what is meant by Karana? And then to understand the definition of Karana, you have to understand the concept of Vyapara, Tajjanyatve sati, Tajjanya Janakatvam, Vyaparatvam. Now, the main part is, shall I proceed? If you have any doubt, you are free to ask. Yes. Yes.
So, about this specific object, two different people have different cognition.
Yes.
And they are not talking to each other and share this Bhagavad. So, both knowledge of both individuals will
continue to be valid. They have not shared their cognitions with each other. See, if somebody says, no, that is not, you have mistaken it for that, till they have got information from each other, that would continue to be valid. That is why Bada should take place.
wrong knowledge also can be called valid.
No, wrong knowledge can be called valid knowledge means till there arises the Bada Jnana, it is valid. That is all. Wrong knowledge, see, you cannot call, see, if I know for certain that I am perceiving shell as silver, this is not wrong knowledge. Yes. See, shell appears to be silver for me. I know that it is only shell, but it appears like silver. Silver means if I have such a knowledge, then it is not erroneous cognition. So, unless for certainty, if you know that it is only a piece of shell, till there arises that Bada Jnana, it would continue to be valid. There is no doubt about it. Yes, sir. Yes. 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 It all depends on the onlooker, you know, how you perceive it. For you, it appears only as a wood. For the other person, he enjoys, or he's a connoisseur, he's an appreciating arts. So he perceives it as an elephant. But the fact remains to be that it is a wood only. There is no harm in saying that it is a wood. Something that aesthetic element is also there when your friend enjoys it to be an elephant. That is all.
In this case, in this example, these two knowledge are not contradicting each other.
No, not at all.
So there is no Bada unit.
Yes, yes. Because it is made of wood, he wants to see it as a wood alone. But beyond the wood, he sees the elephant, he sees it as an elephant. That is all. So now I will proceed. Yes. Oh, you want me to break your head? Then I will do that. I am ready to do, provided you are all ready.
Have mercy on us.
That is why, you know. Okay. Those two lines I am just skipping. If you want, I will explain you in my private conversation. So, nanu evam jnanam prati atmapi karanam syat atma manas samyogasya vyaparasya sattvat tajjanyatve sati tajjanya janako vyapar. Here he gives the definition of tajjanya janakaha tajjanyatve sati tajjanya janako vyaparaha. So, here he puts one important question. Jnanam prati atmapi karanam syat. Now this is from the standpoint of the Naiyayikas. The Naiyayikas put the question, how does knowledge arise? Knowledge of what arises? When the sense organ comes into contact with an object, what happens is Atma Manasa Samyujyate. Mana Indriyena. Manaha Indriyena. Indriyam Arthena. Tataha Pratyaksham. This is the process for them. So whenever we come into contact with an object, what happens is there is immediately Atma Manas Samyoga. The self is related to the mind. Atma Manas Samyoga. This is considered to be the cause of all kinds of cognition, irrespective of its validity or erroneous nature. For the Naiyayikas, knowledge arises in the self. So Atma Manas Samyoga, the relation of mind to the self, is the cause of all kinds of knowledge. Unless there is Atma Manas Samyoga, no cognition could arise, because it is only in the self that knowledge arises, and for that it requires the relation of the mind. Is it clear? So in the state of Sushupti, there is no Atma Manas Samyoga. Mind enters into what is known as Sushumna Nadi. So there is no relation of Atma and the mind and the self. So one does not have the cognition I in the state of deep sleep. This is what the Naiyayikas say. So Atma Manasa Samyujyate, then Atma Manas Samyoga. Then what happens? Manaha Indriyena, mind with the respective sense organ, indriyam arthena tataha pratyaksham. This is the process admitted by the Nayayikas. So he says, he puts a question, nanu evam jnanam prati atmapi karanam syat. This is from the standpoint of the Nayayikas you have to, that is why I gave the background. For the Nayayikas, for the Nyaya school of philosophy, which you will also be dealing with Professor R.B., for the Nyaya school of philosophy, knowledge arises in the self. In other words, self is the substratum of knowledge. It is not like the Advaitins. No, the self itself is of the nature of knowledge, consciousness for the Advaitin. Whereas for the Nyaya school, self is the substratum of knowledge, not only of knowledge, of 9 qualities: jnana, sukha, dukkha, ichcha, dvesha, prayatna, dharma, adharma, and samskara. For all these 9 qualities, it is the self that is the substratum. Now, how does the self is possessed of all these qualities? Only when it is related to the mind. So, from the standpoint of the Nayayikas, this question is put: jnanam prati atmapi karanam syat. With respect to knowledge, even the self is considered to be karana, because we are speaking about karana. So in this context, he anticipates a question: nanu evam jnanam prati atmapi karanam syat. Why? Let us put this diagram: atma manas samyogaha, and there is knowledge. So just as in the case of Swarga, Yaga is the Karana, in the same way, Atma gives rise to Atma Manas Samyoga. There is a relation of mind to the self. This Atma gives rise to Atma Manas Samyoga, and in Atma there is going to be, because for the Nayayikas we have already said the self is the substratum of knowledge through the relation of inherence or samavaya. All kinds of cognitions arise only in the self. So, Atmani jnanam utpadyate. There arises knowledge in the self. So, for this knowledge, what is the intermediate cause? Atma manas samyoga. So, this becomes vyapara. Now, if Atma is possessed of this vyapara, then should we not call this Atma as the Karana of knowledge? Extending this line of argument in this present case also, Atma, from Atma there arises Atma Manas Samyoga, and Atma in turn is the cause of knowledge which arises at the later date. So, this Atma Manas Samyoga is Vyapara, Atma becomes Vyaparavat, and as a result of it, you have to call Atma as Karana. That is what he says, Nanu evam jnanam prati atmapi karanam syat. Why? Atma manas samyogasya vyaparasya satvat. Why? How do you say so? There he explains, tat janyatve sati tat janya janakaha vyaparaha. Tat janya means Atma janyatve sati. Atma manas samyoga arises from Atma. Atma manas tajanya Atma janyatve sati. Atma janya jnanam prati janakatvat. Atma manas samyogaha vyaparaha. So, nanu evam jnanam prati atmapi karanam syat. Atma manas samyogasya vyaparasya satvat. Tat janyatve sati tat janya janakaha vyaparaha. That he explains, you see in the text. Bhavatihi atma manas samyogaha atma janyaha. In the text itself it is given. Atma janyaha. Atma janya jnana janakascha. So far is the Purva Paksha. This is the Nyayayika Purva Paksha. He puts forth this question. Iti chet na. Now our Advaitin comes into the picture. So he has to answer this question. Iti chet na. Sir, all these stories you have to talk inside your house. You should not come to me, because I will never admit Atma of the self to be the substratum of knowledge. Don't tell me this story. Iti chet na. It is an emphatic no. For the Advaitins, this position will not at all hold good. Why? Jnanasya janyatva anabhyupagamat. Jnana can never arise at a given point of time. Even if it is said to arise, it is because of the antakarana vritti or the mental state which reflects the consciousness, because that is said to arise at a given point of time. It is only metaphorically we refer to knowledge as being arising. That is what we explained yesterday. Chaitanyasya anaditvepi tad abhivyanjaka antakaranam indriya sannikarshadina jayate. The manifesting factor of that consciousness, it arises, that manifesting factor of consciousness, what is that? The mental state. Mental state arises due to the intermediation or operation of the sense organs, because we are attributing, because the mental state arises, we are attributing that rise or that generation in the consciousness aspect also. That is why we say jnana arises at a given point of time. Strictly speaking, for the Advaitins, you cannot at all admit jnana as arising at a given point of time, because jnana, which is equated with the consciousness, pure consciousness, it is an eternal consciousness. So you cannot admit it to be arising. That is what he says, iti chet na jnanasya janyatva anabhyupagamat. So we cannot admit all these stories. Jnanasya janyatva anabhyupagamat. Janyatvehi janyajnanatvavacchinnam prati asadharana karanatvena atma karanam syat. You can speak, you can tell all these stories, provided knowledge is considered or admitted to be arising at a given point of time. That is the meaning of that sentence. So, but such a thing does not at all happen in our system. So, we do not admit jnana as arising. But then how is it that, sir, I have the knowledge of the cognition, I have the knowledge of pot today, yesterday I saw the pot, all this, how do the Advaitins account for that? That we have explained, because of the antakarana vritti or the mental state arising due to the operation of the sense organs. So we metaphorically or figuratively use the expression that knowledge arises. Strictly speaking, knowledge does not at all arise. So in that context, again he gives one more explanation, he gives one more technical term, karanattamcha karyani, because he has introduced the word karana. He says karanattamcha karya niyata purva vrittitvam. That is again a nyaya terminology. Let me explain that. Karanattamcha karya niyata purva vrittitvam. You see, Advaita is only applied logic. Without the understanding of Nyaya, one cannot, at least the epistemology part of it, one cannot understand Advaita. So, Karya, Niyata, all these technical terms one has to understand. Now, what is the Karya? Part is the Karya. Now, what is a cause? Karya niyata purva vritti karanam. See, the Advaitins will call mrit, clay, as the cause of pot, upadana karana. But for the Nayayikas, it is the potsherds, kapala is the karana. So, karya niyata purva vrittitvam karanam means, with respect to an effect, something is the cause. And what is that cause? It invariably, niyata purva vritti means that which invariably precedes the rise of the effect, that is termed karana. Karya niyata purva vritti means presence in the immediately preceding moment. Purva vrittitvam means that which exists in the immediately preceding moment. Purva vrittitvam, that is the cause. And that alone is not enough. It must be niyama purva, niyata purva vritti means it must be an invariable precedent. A precedent, a cause which is precedent to the rise of the effect. It is not the case that it is precedent in some cases. It is an invariable precedent. Wherever pot is to be produced, what is required? Pot sherds are required. So, niyata purva vritti. So, karya niyata purva vrittitvam karanatvam. He gives the definition. Karanatvam cha karya niyata purva vrittitvam. And then this leads us to understand the definition of karya. Now, each succeeding line in this commentary is an explanation of the previous line, because karanatvam we explained. Karana definition required the knowledge of karana. So karana we have explained karya neta purvavrittitvam. Now without understanding what is meant by karya, you cannot understand this definition. So he gives the definition karyam pragabhava pratiyogi. Now this is a very, very important terminology. You see, according to the school of Nyaya, the effect does not pre-exist in its cause. According to theory of causation, the effect does not pre-exist in its cause. Now look at the Sankhya school. The Sankhya school advocates what is known as Parinamavada or Satkaryavada. For them, the effect pre-exists in its cause. Clay, for example, pot prior to its production exists in a latent form, in a sukshma rupa, in the cause, namely clay. Now if it is existent, if it is pre-existent in its cause, then causal operation is not at all required. Pot could come into existence of its own accord. Now they say that causal operation is necessary in order to bring into existence what is present in a latent form into a gross form. So sukshma rupa, it is present in a sukshma rupa. What is present in a sukshma rupa has to be brought into effect in a sthula rupa. For that, what is required is karaka vyapara. Causal operation is necessary. So although it is pre-existent in its cause, yet karaka vyapara is necessary to bring into existence in a gross form. Now see the Nayayikas. The effect does not pre-exist in its cause. Not in no form does it exist. So the Nayayikas say that if the effect does not pre-exist in its cause, means there is a total absence of the effect in its cause. And what is that absence called? It is prior non-existence, which means it is not the case that pot will never come into existence in clay. Sometime or the other it may come into existence. So what exists there in the clay is only prior non-existence of pot, which means it is prag abhava. But the claim of the Nayayikas is that the effect does not pre-exist in its cause, which means it is called asat karyavada. Asat karyavada means, even though it is asat karyavada means the effect is a totally de novo creation. It is a creation, it is a fresh creation. What has not existed in its cause is going to be brought into existence anew. So it is asat karyavada. Asat karyavada means if the effect does not pre-exist in its cause, then what exists there? How is it that only from clay pot comes into existence? If the effect does not pre-exist in its cause, anything can give rise to anything, isn't it? Even from out of threads, pot could come into existence. So the Nayayikas say that there is a fixed rule, fixed niyama, that pot alone can give rise to, the clay alone can give rise to pot. Recourse to appropriate material, that is why the Sankhya say we take recourse only to clay and not threads in order to produce pot. So there is a cold war between the Sankhya school and the Nayayikas, and the Advaitins take pleasure in this cold war. Because see, the Nayayikas say what? Mr. Sankhya, you say Parinamavada or Asatkaryavada. What do you say, Nayayika? I say Arambhavada or Asatkaryavada. Okay, both of you quarrel. with each other. Now, I will derive a theory of creation from you both. So the effect is neither identical with the effect is neither identical with the cause. It is not different from the cause as the Nayayikas say. So it is Beda Sahishnuhu Abedaha. The effect is it in some way it is identical, in some way it is different. So Beda Sahishnuhu Abedaha. There is an identity involving a sense of difference. There is a difference involving a sense of identity between the cause and the effect. This is Vivartavada of the Advaitis. So that is incidental. What I want to say here is Karyam Pragabhava Pratyogi means prior to the rise of the effect, there is prior non-existence of pot in the potsherds. So what was not existent in the cause is being brought into existence anew when the effect is produced. So what happens is, why do we call this karya as pragabhava pratyogi? Now pratyogi here you have to understand it in the sense of virodhi. When the clay exists, when potsherds exist, when the pot has come into existence, no more could it remain in the form of potsherds. So it has destroyed its pragabhava. That is, pot by coming into existence has destroyed its pragabhava and it has come into existence. So if a particular pot has come into existence, say this pot number 1, pot number 2, pot number 3. Now from out of potsherds, pot number 1 has come into existence means the prior non-existence of this particular pot has been destroyed. But there are other pragabhavas of other gatas. Once pot number 2 comes into existence, the pragabhava with reference to that pot would get destroyed. So pragabhava that is why pragabhava exists beginningless. It exists time immemorial. It is anadi. But it has anta. It has an ansanta. Anadihi santaha pragabhava. When does it have an end? When once the effect comes into existence, the prior non-existence with reference to that particular effect comes to an end. No more it could exist. That is why the Nayayikas define pragabhava as pragabhava anadihi santaha pragabhavaha. So he says karanatvam cha karyam pragabhava pratyogi. So he also gives the definition. You see, pragabhava, 3 factors you have to refer, you have to understand, or you have to remember in the case of pragabhava. One is anadi. Pragabhava is anadi, means beginningless. Santaha. It has an end. And second point, utpattehe purvam karyasya. When does it exist? One second. Utpattehe purvam karyasya. When does pragabhava exist? It exists prior to the rise of the effect. Pragabhava's existence can be known only prior to the rise of the effect. So it is anadi or beginningless, and it has an end when the effect comes into existence. It is destroyed. And then when does it exist? Utpattehe purvam karyasya. Prior to the rise of the effect, it exists. Then how do you know that pragabhava exists? Here, gata pragabhava exists. Now, referring to the potsherds, suppose you are going to a potter's house where he is making many pots. Because we are Nayayikas, we are always fond of pots only. Pot and cloth. Somebody asked me the question, can you not find any other example other than this pot and cloth? And when you go to Vedanta class, they always speak of Rajju Sarpa and Shukti Rajata. And when you go to Nayayikas, they say Gata and Pata. Do away with this Gata and Pata. Think of some other example. See, I told them, if I give this example, somebody will ask me the question, why do you give this example? Some example has to be given. So it is easy for the Nayayikas for Gata and Pata. So you think of some other example, you substitute with that example. I will say only with Gata and Pata. Because something has to be said, isn't it? So, the Gata Pragabhava, prior to the pot being originated, there exists Gata Pragabhava. The third point about Pragabhava I want to explain now. Where does Pragabhava exist? How do you know that there is Pragabhava? He says, when we go to the potter's house, where pot is going to be produced, there you have the verbal usage, Iha Gato Bhavishyati. Pot is going to be produced here. So, where will you have that usage? Only where there is prior non-existence of pot, you can have the verbal usage, Iha Gato Bhavishyati. You are going to produce pot. Means, what is the content of that usage? That means, there is Gata Pragabhava. If the pot has already come into existence there, can you make this verbal usage that pot will come into existence here? No. So, where the potter is ready to make pot with his chakra, with his wheel, potter's wheel, etc., he is ready to make pot, then you have the verbal usage, Iha Gato Bhavishyati. Pot will come into existence. Such a kind of verbal usage can be had only where there is Gata Pragabhava. So, this Pragabhava is the cause of verbal usage. What kind of verbal usage? Iha Gato Bhavishyati. Iti Vyavahara Hetuhu. So, 3 points have to be borne in mind with regard to Pragabhava. That is, one is the definition of Pragabhava, that is Anadihi Santaha. It is beginningless, exists time immemorial, but it has an end. When does it come to an end? When once the effect is produced. So, Anadihi Santaha Pragabhava. And where does it exist? Utpattehe Purvam Karyasya. Karyasya Utpattehe Purvam Pragabhavaha Vartate. It exists prior to the production of the effect. And what does it give rise to? It gives rise to the verbal cognition, Iha Gato Bhavishyati. Pot will come into existence. Such a kind of verbal usage can be had only where there is Pragabhava. So that is what he says, Karyam Pragabhava Pratyogi. And then Bhavishyati iti Pratiti Vishayo Abhavaha Pragabhavaha. And we have given 2 more additional informations here, whereas he has said Bhavishyati iti Pratiti means Jnanam. Bhavishyati iti Pratiti Vishayaha Abhavaha. The third one is referred to in the text. Iha Gato Bhavishyati. That is what I have given. Bhavishyati iti Pratiti Vishayaha Abhavaha Pragabhavaha. The other one also he has given. Such a Karane Karyasya Utpatte Purvam Vartate. Second point also is there. Sacha means Pragabhavascha Karane. In the Karana, it exists when Karyasya Utpattehe Purvam Vartate. Is it clear? And then he analyzes the word Pramana. Pramana. Mana means Pramana. So, Prapadam. Prapadasya Avashyakata. What is the significance of the expression pra and mana in the word Pramana? He says, Chidikriya Kutaradau Ativyakti Varanaya Manapada Upadanam. So you are cutting a plant with an axe. Chidikriya. You are cutting the plant with an axe. Kutara means axe. So Kutarado, that is also an instrument. So when we speak of instrument, can we not consider the axe which also serves as an instrument? No. Chidikriya kutaradu ativyap. So if we speak of mana, means pramana, can we not consider such kinds of instrument, axe, scissors, all these? No. Tatra ativyapti varana. So mana pada means mana means that which mana pada upadanam. Chidikriya kutaradu ativyapti varanaya mana pada upadanam. The word mana means that which measures, or that by means of which you are able to measure something or know something, not the act of cutting or anything. So that is why mana pada upadanam. The word mana is significant in the sense of by which you are able to measure something, know something. And then dushta chakshurendriye brahmajnana karane ativyaptehe prapadam. So even the by pramana, by means of pramana, that is dushta chakshurendriya, defective sense organ, through that also you are able to cognize shell as silver. That is also a cause. So he says ativyaptehe prapadam. So pramana means, the pramana is that which gives rise only to valid cognition. You see, defective sense organ gives rise to the knowledge of silver in the shell, but there it is not treated as a pramana, because that which arises from a pramana alone is treated as valid, isn't it? Pramayaha karanam pramanam. So prapadam, the word pra conveys the sense of that it must be efficacious in giving rise to valid knowledge. So dushta chakshurendriye brahmajnana karane ativyaptehe prapadam. Pramanam ityukte chakshurado avyaptihi. Ataha prama iti padam upattam. Pramanam ityukte. If prama itself is equated with the pramana, then chakshurado avyaptihi. Chakshurendriya, shrotrendriya, all these chakshurado avyaptihi. Chakshurendriya is a pramana. Is it clear? So pramanam, if you give the definition of prama as pramanam, we are now dealing with the definition of prama and pramana. Now if you define abhaditartha visheka jnanam prama, what is the definition of prama? Prama is pramana. You cannot see, prama and pramana are diagonally opposite. But he says pramanam ityukte chakshurado avyaptihi, means chakshurad indriya which gives rise to the prama, that itself may be treated as prama, means then there is avyapti for the definition of prama. So ataha prama karanam iti padam upattam. So pramayaha karanam pramanam, we go to the extent of saying that which gives rise to valid knowledge, that is pramana. So prama karanam iti padam upattam. Abhaditartaka jnanam yatarthanubhavo mataha pramayaha karanam yat tat pramanam iti giyate. So only in some of the verses we have, and that too in Pratyaksha Paricheda you have lengthy discussions. Otherwise I don't think we will be having so much discussions. Then comes the Anumana. Anumana also requires a lot of technical terms have to be explained. Okay, we will see. So I think we will close the class, Swamiji. Only 5 more minutes are there. I don't want to begin another shloka. But the next shloka is only enumeration of the padarthas. Pramanani vibhajate pratyaksham anumanam cha upamanam shabda ityapi chatvaryeva pramanani ityahuhu kechana tarkikaha. Some nayayikas, they consider only 4 pramanas: pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, shabda. Chatvaryeva pramanani ityahuhu kechana tarkikaha pratyaksham ityadi matabedamaha. So there is divergence or difference of opinion among philosophers with regard to the number of pramanas. And the Nayayikas, Nyaya school, the Ekadeshi, Nyaya Ekadeshi, part of the Nyaya school, they consider 4 pramanas. Kechana iti Nayayikadayaha ityataha, some of the Nyaya philosophers. And Prabhakaranam matamaha, the Prabhakara school of Mimamsa, they have added one more to it, Arthapattim Tatamanam, presumption or postulation, that is also another pramana. Vadanti Anupalabdikam Pratyekam Lakshananyahuhu Sangrahena Iha Katyate. I have just enumerated the different types of pramanas. Anupalabdhi is included by the Bhatta school of Mimamsakas. So there are altogether 6 pramanas. Pratyekam Lakshananyahuhu Sangrahena. Here we have referred to by names all these pramanas. So we are going to give their definitions in detail later on. Pratyekam Lakshananyahuhu Sangrahena iha katyate. Arthapattim iti. Bhatta Vedantinaha Anupalabdim cha pramanantaram ahuhu ityartaha. So he gives an explanation, that is the Bhatta school with regard to the empirical affairs. They have followed, the Vedantins have followed the Bhatta school of Mimamsakas. So following them, the Vedantis, the Advaita Vedantins also have admitted 6 pramanas, means of valid knowledge. So Bhatta Vedantinaha Anupalabdi is non-apprehension. So for non-apprehension gives rise to the knowledge of non-existence of something. If you want to perceive the absence of pot on the floor, what is the karana? It is the non-apprehension or gata anupalabdihi, gata abhava pratyaksham prati karanam. It gives gata abhava buddhim prati, gata anupalabdihi karanam. Whereas the Nayayika, the Nyaya school, they do not admit anupalabdi or arthapatti. They try to include them, these 2 pramanas, under the existing 4 pramanas itself, whereas the Advaitins, they accept a different pramana to comprehend absence or non-existence. So Bhatta Vedantinaha Anupalabdimcha pramanantaram ahuhu ityartaha. And then Pratamodishtasya Pratyakshasya Lakshanamaha, we have to deal with Pratyaksha Pramana. Sakshat Karomi Aham. We will do it in the next class. So Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.